Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where people truly believe the world revolves around them and nobody else matters. And in today's episode, guys, it's all about entitled neighbors getting what they deserve, and the stories are super satisfying. I hope you enjoy the tales today. Don't shake your heads too hard, and as always, you can send or link your Reddit post to this email right here. This happened a long time ago, and it's actually my neighbor's story. When I was 9 years old, a new neighbor moved in across the street. They had a 9-year-old girl who had 2 pet bunnies. I became fast friends with the new neighbor, and several of the neighborhood kids would regularly come by her house to play with the bunnies. For 2 years, everything was fine. No one had issues, and we all lived happily in our white picket fence neighborhood. Enter the HOA a-hole, who was really entitled. Now, the HOA a-hole lived on the other side of the new neighbors. Our HOA was fairly reasonable. Don't paint your house neon pink, cut your grass, otherwise you're safe. But the HOA a-hole was high-ranking on the board, and he had a tendency to nitpick about stupid things. After 2 years, the HOA a-hole had gotten bored and decided it was a problem that the new neighbors had bunnies. Why? Because deep in our HOA bylaws, it states that you can't have any non-domesticated pets. Bunnies, even though theirs had been never left outside or hurt any of the kids, were considered non-domesticated. So the HOA a-hole made a stink to the board and insisted that something be done immediately. So with that, the HOA sends a letter to get the bunnies gone as soon as possible or fines would start accumulating. The new neighbor tried to go talk to the HOA a-hole and explain that they're his daughter's pets, they're harmless, etc., but that didn't work. The HOA a-hole wanted none of it. The guy smirks and told him to tell his daughter to tell Bugs Bunny bye-bye. But what the HOA a-hole didn't know is that the new neighbors were only a few weeks away from moving back across country to be closer to family. They'd done a private sale on the house. There was no signage outside, and most people didn't even know. New neighbor could have just ignored the letter, and he would have been gone before the fines even hit. But no, that's way too easy. What did he do instead? He drove to a friend's property in the rural area of town, captured 4 wild bunnies, and set them loose in the neighborhood the day before he moved. And boy, did those bunnies do what bunnies do. And where did they do it? In the HOA a-hole's backyard, where he and his wife spent years creating a bushy, flowery oasis. Within a month or two, the bunny population doubled. With a few more, it tripled, and within a year or two, our neighborhood was overrun. For the most part, they were harmless. They stayed out of the way, added a homey feel to our yards, and they were really cute. For the HOA a-hole, however, it was havoc on his beautiful yard, and the guy spent months petitioning that the HOA eradicate them, to no avail. 20 years later, and the neighborhood is still a bunny hideaway. The HOA a-hole still lives there, and he's long given up on protecting his beautiful backyard from the bunnies, all because he wouldn't leave a 9-year-old girl's pet bunnies alone. Guys, I frickin' love this post. Get rid of a girl's pet rabbits, enjoy hundreds roaming the neighborhood. Seriously, some people need to mind their own business. They really do, guys. And that HOA a-hole was a monster. Like, who the heck rips a beloved pet away from a little girl? All while telling her, say bye-bye to Bugs Bunny. So I rent a house with my husband and 2 of our friends. It's a 5-bedroom house. The rent is outrageous in our area. It's $2,400 for a 1-bedroom apartment, so we found this house for $3,000. Not a bad deal while we save up to buy a house. There are other houses in the neighborhoods like this, as well as our next-door neighbors. Their house is a 5-bedroom house, and they have 9 people living in their house, so it's absolute chaos there all the time. In our neighborhood, we can choose the trash company. It just so happens that we have the same trash company as our next-door neighbors. Our trash company does like us to have the trash out by 7 a.m. We don't always get it out that early though, and that's where the problem started. Most of the time, they don't pick up our trash until 11 a.m., so obviously, as long as the trash is out before pickup gets there, they can take our trash. The people next door have 3 trash cans, and they're overflowing every single week. They put their trash out the night before, but unfortunately, our neighborhood's got raccoons and foxes, so the trash is always getting into, and last time a raccoon got in their trash, it left a mess in our yard, and the neighbors refused to pick it up. Of course, I was pretty pissed about it, but I just let it go and cleaned up their trash. I did go and put it back in their trash can, and they just sat out front glaring at me while I did that. And here's where the incident started. So a couple of weeks ago, I didn't get our trash out until almost 9 a.m. All four of us were sick, and I slept in, and I forgot to put the trash out at 7 a.m. So I go and put the trash out, and my neighbor starts yelling at me saying, "You were supposed to have your trash out by 7 o'clock. You can't put your trash out now." At that I say to him, "Well, they haven't come and picked up the trash yet, so I can still do it." The guy keeps screaming at me, saying, "No, that's the rules. Your trash has to be out by 7 a.m. If it's not, you can't get your trash picked up this week." I told him I understand that they want the trash out by 7 a.m., but they haven't come and picked it up yet, so it doesn't matter. So I went ahead and just walked inside. I went back to bed, and a couple of hours later, I get up to see that our trash cans were moved to the side of the house and they were still full of trash. So that means that someone moved our trash can. Our other neighbor came up to me the next day and said she saw him pulling our trash cans back after I went back inside. She didn't know the situation, so she wasn't gonna butt in and tell him not to do that. After that, I decided I was gonna get even. Now, one thing about our neighbors is they're also very proud of their last name. They literally have a flag in the front window with their last name, so I called the trash company and said that I was Mr. So-and-so and I lived at this address and I needed to set up a vacation hold for the upcoming pickup. They said, "No problem, we won't pick up your trash next week." They legit only asked for the address, no other information. And the next week, I made sure that our trash was out by 6:45 a.m. I then sat and watched for the trash truck and I watched them come past the house. They drove right past my neighbor's house, didn't even pick up their trash, even though their trash was overflowing. They picked up ours and the other few people who also have them and left. Now I know I'm an a-hole for doing this, but you don't need to tell me. I may have crossed the line, but he also crossed the line by touching our cans and moving them and setting foot on our property. I also want to add that our lease is up at the end of the month, so we won't be dealing with these crazies for much longer. And if they mess with the house, good, my slumlord can deal with it. Now that is a nice petty revenge, guys. Like, the neighbors are insane though. Having trash out by 7 o'clock in the morning is not an unbreakable rule. I've never heard that in my life. Like, as long as you put your garbage out before the trucks come and pick up, who the heck really cares, right? Some people need to get hobbies so they don't spend their time policing others. And this person says, "Are you kidding me? I would have dumped my full bins all over their yard as soon as I realized they'd moved the trash before pickup." Let me know how many of you agree with this comment. This took place months ago, the night Argentina won the World Cup. I came home around 10 p.m. and a massive party was being held next door. I had to work early Monday morning, so I rang my neighbor's doorbell and asked the first person to come to the door to lower the music down. Our balconies kind of connect, so moments later, my neighbor was banging on my door to come out to fight him. Now, we're both adults. I'm almost 40 and he doesn't look any younger than that. A bit about me is I used to be bullied as a kid and I don't take crap from people anymore. Add to that equation that my girlfriend had an anxiety attack due to him threatening us, all for asking him to turn the music down a bit. So I called the police and they stopped the party right away. The next morning, the landlord, who loves me for some reason, told me that she left a massive warning on my neighbor's apartment as I wasn't the only one who complained. And this was so big that it deserved 2 strikes, so one more and the guy was out. She said I should call her if anything out of the ordinary happened, because one more event and he's out for good. Now that wasn't enough for me, so I came up with a plan to get him out of the building as soon as possible. We can hear each other's conversation from balcony to balcony. And I was invited to a New Year's party far from here, about an hour drive. The guy had the nerve to ask the landlord if he could invite some friends over for New Year's Eve, and she called me with this information. I said to her, no problem, but I didn't mention why I was cool with it. Every time I knew he was at his balcony, I sat on mine and pretended to call friends and invite them to my own party. I fake called about 100 people, and this guy was clearly listening. Now I knew that because my landlord asked me if I was holding a massive event Saturday night. I said I might have some friends over, and that was it. The guy heard me fake renting a DJ, a smoke machine, and of course, many guests. And why did I do this? Because he relaxed and he did the same. I went to my New Year's party at around 5 p.m. and people were already getting to his place. At around 11 p.m., my other neighbor texted me and told me what happened. It was frickin' Times Square in his apartment and the cops stopped the party. and that ended up being his third strike. Bye-bye. The guy was gone next week. Now that was a brilliant revenge, guys, and OP is a freaking evil genius for sure, and that guy fell right into his trap. And best of all, guys, there's no way this could be blamed on OP, as the guy did it all himself. No matter the argument, it was all his idea to do what he knew was not allowed. Very well done. This all happened a couple of years ago. I rent an apartment in a duplex. The lease says no smoking inside, which isn't a problem for me. But smoking outside does lead to two problems. One being the mosquitoes, and the other being my neighbor, who we'll call Karen. When I first moved in, Karen came right up to me as I was moving boxes, and she followed me around to ask me questions, laying down the rules of the neighborhood, as if she's the homeowners association. Karen told me that fire pits and bonfires aren't allowed because the street has had a gas leak before, and it's dangerous and could cause an explosion. Anyways, at first, I thought the questions were just a friendly neighbor getting to know me, but it quickly felt like an interrogation. The woman was asking me questions like, where are you coming from? Where do you work? Who's your wife? Who's your kids? Do you have family in the area? It was one question after the other, almost like she was interviewing me. She then started telling me about everyone in the neighborhood too, and that was enough for me to not like her. I thought to myself, if she's telling me, basically a stranger, all the details she can think of everyone around us, then nothing I tell her would ever be private. Anyways, I just kept my head down and kept conversations kind of limited whenever I saw her. I wasn't mean or cold to her, but I definitely wasn't as friendly as I could have been. So with that said, a few months go by, and summer starts to pick up, as do the mosquitoes in my area. At first, I tried sprays, but they don't work great at repelling. Then I tried citronella candles, but because I would blow them out when I was done smoking, the wax wouldn't melt evenly, and I would waste a lot. So with that, I landed on tiki torches. I bought a glass tabletop tiki torch. I set it up on the brick patio near my bench, and it worked great for about an hour or so. So I'm sitting on my bench when out of nowhere I hear fire truck sirens. Now I do live near a fire station, so that's not unusual, until they turn down my street. I'm watching as they pull up to my house. Now it's a narrow street, so my first thought was that my car and my neighbor across the street were parked in a way blocking them from going down the street. So with that, I quickly run inside, grab my keys, and dash to my car. But right as I'm at the sidewalk, half a dozen firefighters rush by me to my front yard, to the tiki torch. I have no clue what's going on at this point, and with the sirens going, I can't hear them. One of the firefighters leans close to me, and he yells in my ear, "What is that?" I yell back, "A tiki torch," still confused. The firefighter asks me, "What are you burning? Where's the fire?" I tell him the fire's the tiki torch. I repeat that, exasperated and confused. And that's when a few of them go back, turn off the siren, and tell me that one of my neighbors must hate me. So apparently they were called for an out-of-control fire pit, and what they saw was a tiki torch with no flammable material around it being watched by an adult. They said it's fine to have a tiki torch, and they went on their way. Now imagine my surprise when the very next day I'm on my porch, tiki torch going, and I hear the sirens again. I think it can't be me. There's no way they would come down again. But lo and behold, they turned down my street. I calmly cap the torch and wait for them, and now they were mad. They also didn't know who called because they were dispatched by 911. But they told me if it happens again, they were gonna file misuse of emergency service charges against whoever was calling. Of course, at this point, I'm annoyed too. I'm not in the wrong. This one neighbor doesn't like me because I don't like her. Literally all my neighbors who've met me wave to me. We move each other's packages to a more hidden place on porches, help shovel driveways. I'm invited to multiple barbecues every summer, and we still manage to stay out of each other's business, but not her. So my revenge plan came almost immediately. I went back to the grocery store and I bought the tiki torch a few days earlier and I cleaned them out. I bought 8 and tons of citronella oil. I think the stockpile of citronella I have is more a fire hazard than an actual fire pit. But yeah, I hand them out to all my neighbors in view of Karen and explained why I'm giving it, and if they ever need fluid to just text me. They thought it was all hilarious. So within the coming months, all my neighbors had tiki torches proudly displayed on their porches whenever they had company over. They raised the torches and cheersed me from across the street with a grin. Maybe not as serious as others here, but it always gives me a smile. Oh man, guys, I think OP jumped the gun on handing those torches to his neighbors. If I were in OP's shoes, I would have lit the torches a third time, let her call 911 again, get charged, and then distributed tiki torches to everyone. But seriously, what a waste of resources though, and what a nasty person that woman was to repeatedly call 911 on OP for something so stupid. Some people really think they're the boss of the neighborhood they live in, guys. We recently bought a new cat tower. We have 5 cats who play hard, and the old tower was definitely showing use. The cats had torn up the carpet, they had vomited in one of the cubes, and decapitated the hanging mouse whose name is Earl because why not? We set up the new tower, and after asking around to our friends, we couldn't find anyone who wanted it. So we took it out to the curb to get rid of it. Large trash pickup was coming up, so we figured if anyone wanted it, they would have plenty of time to grab it before trash pickup. In our neighborhood, as long as the item's not on the curb more than a week, you won't get cited for having trash in your yard. And we thought no big deal, right? Oh no, it's a big deal because Karen and Kevin have decided that they want the tower. I work from home, but my office is in the back of my house. We have a Ring camera, and around 10 a.m. one morning, the doorbell rings. I'm in a meeting with my boss, so I check the app and see that I don't know these people, and go back to my meeting. About 45 minutes later, the doorbell rings again. Now, I'm out of my meeting, and since I'm expecting packages, I check the app, see it's the delivery guy, and then head out to grab my packages off my porch. I hear the notification going off my phone as I'm opening the door, and there stands Karen and Kevin with my packages and the cat tower. Kevin's holding my packages, and I asked, "Can I help you?" He tells me we're interested in the cat tower. I tell him, "Go for it, it's been left out for large trash, you can have it. May I have my packages, please?" Karen says, "The carpets and the sisal on the tower is torn. I'm gonna need you to fix that before we take the tower. And also, there's vomit on it. Why would you give away a tower that has vomit on it? That needs to be cleaned as well." At that I tell her, I'm not gonna fix anything on the tower, we're throwing it away. If you want the tower, take the tower. If not, it'll be picked up later this week with large trash. Now may I have my packages? Kevin's obviously not realized I'm concerned about the state of the cat tower, and he says, "Well, we still want the cat tower. I'm just gonna leave it on your porch and we'll come back with our truck this weekend to pick it up. You'll clean it, right?" And I do want to note that he's still holding my damn packages. I tell him, yeah, that won't work for us. See, we're trying to get rid of the cat tower, and I don't want it on my porch, which is why it's on the curb. So if you want the tower and you're not going to take it right now, I'm not going to hold it for you. Please give me back my packages. It's about this time my phone starts ringing, and I needed to get back to work. But I wasn't going to leave without my packages. Just as I'm about to get angry with these people, my retired military biker-looking neighbor pulls up in his pickup truck. The guy's a big pussycat, but he's very protective of us, especially our 2 daughters. My neighbor calls over to me, and he starts heading over to where we're standing on my porch. I guess Kevin got nervous, so at that point, he shoves my packages at me and says, "Well, we'll just leave the tower on the porch, and we'll come pick it up when we can." And I'm thinking, yeah, that's not gonna work for me. When Kevin and Karen walked off, I turned to my neighbor and asked him to help me carry the cat tower back down to the curb. A little while later, I had to run an errand, and when I got back, the stupid cat tower was back on my porch. And I'm thinking, y'all, what the absolute stupid hell is going on? My 19-year-old daughter got back from class a little while later and asked why the cat tower is back on the porch. So I told her the story. She rolled her eyes, groaned, and I went back to work. About 30 minutes later, she comes into my office laughing. I asked her, "What did you do?" She tells me I took the cat tower back down to the curb. I asked her, "How? That thing is heavy as hell." She said to me it was really easy once I took it apart and put all the hardware in this Ziploc bag that accidentally fell into the trash can with the used cat litter. So now, if Kevin and Karen want the cat tower, it's still available, but they'll have to go dumpster diving for the hardware. Yeah, I'm just baffled at what they were expecting from OP, guys. Yeah, we'll take the cat tower, but you have to fix it and clean it. Why would you give away a free cat tower that's full of vomit? And the audacity of them to just bring it back to OP's porch after OP put it on the curb. I think after that, I would have gotten a sledgehammer and gone to town on that thing. Like, nobody's getting it now. I'm a 34-year-old female, and I live upstairs in a duplex with my 2 boxer/pity mixes. I have lived here for 5 years, and last year, my neighbors moved in downstairs after the unit had been empty for a while. They were good neighbors until this year when they had a baby. Apparently, they had to go through IVF and a bunch of miscarriages, and she posted all about it on Facebook. Now, I did think that was too much information, but whatever. I'm only her Facebook friend because she added me. She's also made a big deal about being pregnant, and it's so annoying to see, but I just ignored her. Anyways, since she's had the baby, I've had to deal with crying from downstairs. Now, it's not as bad as I expected, but it's still really annoying. I have gone down and knocked on their door a couple of times to tell them to keep the noise down. Every time, they apologize and blame their baby, but nothing's changed. At that, I got fed up and reported them to our landlord for making so much noise. The landlord talked to my neighbors, who are now turning it around on me, saying my dogs are too loud, and I play music at night that wakes their baby up. My dogs aren't loud, and they hardly ever bark when I'm home. So at that I got annoyed, went down to talk to my neighbor about it, and that's when she got really nasty with me. She blamed me and my dogs for always waking up her baby. She said she can hear every one of mine and my dog's footsteps and the nails on the floor specifically, and that my dogs bark the whole time I'm not home during the day, and that I put my music up too loud at night. I told her I can't make my dogs not bark when I'm out, and that they're dogs on hardwood floors, and that I don't know what she expected living in a downstairs unit. I told her I don't think it's fair to ask me to change my life when I'm not the one who had a baby. That's when my neighbor got an attitude and told me she was only asking for me to be a respectful neighbor in our shared space, and she brought up hearing an argument I had with my ex a few weeks ago. I admit that was a bit loud, but it wasn't that big of a deal. I laughed and told her that pretty much went out the window when she had a baby, but she shut the door in my face. I reported the whole conversation to my landlord, so there's a record of complaints, because I want them and that baby out of here. When I was telling a friend about what was happening, she told me I was a major a-hole to struggling new parents, but I think that's their problem, not mine. They had a baby. But I wanted to get some unbiased feedback because that friend is usually a little over-emotional for my taste. Yeah, so pretty much everyone voted OP the entitled a-hole in this, basically saying that she's allowed to make noise, but expects silence from her neighbors. And this person says, wow, so all the noise coming from your apartment isn't your problem, even though it's bothering her and likely causing the baby to cry. Yet all the noise coming from her apartment absolutely needs to be addressed. Your dogs bark all day, her baby cries. It cancels each other out. You're also playing loud music at night, which is also causing the baby to wake up, which causes the rest of the household to wake up and the baby cries once again. I just love how you tell her I can't make my dogs not bark. Yet you think she should magically be able to make her baby stop crying. And what's ironic is you send this whole conversation to your landlord, which holds a laundry list of her complaints with you. When you only have one complaint about them, I wouldn't be surprised if you ended up being the one written up. But you guys know the deal. Let me know what you think. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of r/entitled_people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's super satisfying stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed yesterday's episode on the channel, it's another r/entitled_people episode, where OP's parents end up suing him because he's got a better life than them. It's such a wild story, so go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.